Hi, I'm Astrologer Penny Dix, and welcome to the final video in my series I've been doing for the first half of this year, looking at the outer planets. They're the big boys. They're Neptune, Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter. Have I missed anyone? Hopefully not. Uranus. There we go. Surprising Uranus. So today I thought it would be really good, and you will be seeing this obviously after the event because I'm recording this on the 25th of May. But the planet I'm looking at today is a wonderful planet of luck, opportunity, expansion and abundance, Jupiter. And Jupiter today moves into Gemini from the sign of Taurus. So I thought it would be interesting to, first of all, look at the qualities of Jupiter and what it's been doing throughout the first half of 2024 and how that's going to change the energy for the rest of 2024 with Jupiter's entry into Gemini on the 25th, 26th. In fact, I'm going to put the chart up now because the chart you can kind of take some time to look at because I'm going to look at it. What I'm doing is I'm giving you the chart of the moment in time in London when Jupiter moves into Gemini. And it will help us to get a sense of what we can expect this time round, because it takes 12 years to go around the zodiac with Jupiter in Gemini. So also think about what was going on for you in 2012 and 2013, because that will give you a big clue as to what to expect this time round with Jupiter in Gemini. Now let's get the wonderful Jerry to make the wonderful chart of Jupiter in Gemini appear. And there we go, just like magic, hopefully. So it's quite interesting, this chart. Now this is literally the minute, so it may not be the second, but it's the minute that it moves into Gemini. First of all, we need to think about the energy of Gemini and the energy of Jupiter. And does Jupiter like being in the sign of Gemini? Gemini is mutable, which means it's flexible, and it's also an air sign. But Jupiter rules Sagittarius, which is the opposite sign to Gemini. And Sagittarius, although it's mutable, is a fire sign. So how does Jupiter, a fiery, massive, mega big gas giant, cope with the airy, light energies, the inquisitive, the sensitive, the thoughtful energies of Gemini? So let's keep that in mind as we look at the various energies that are around and what we can expect. And just to let you know, with this particular video, you will be very pleased to know I will be doing all 12 individual zodiac signs, excuse me, so that you know how Jupiter is going to behave in the area of life that it was in 12 years ago. So if you can think back 12 years, as I say, it was 2012, 2013, have a think to what was going on for you, because that will give you a strong kind of sense of what you can expect for the next year, because Jupiter will be in Gemini from May the 25th until June the 9th, 2025, when it will move into the cardinal and watery sign of Cancer. But we'll do that next year. So fire and air. Air can be windy, can't it? If it gets stirred up. So air can put out fire. So does Jupiter feel a little bit kind of, a bit blown out or blown away in Gemini? You know, there's something about this Gemini energy where we tend to stay in our mind and our thinking and are less likely to get into our feeling and sort of intuitive levels, which would be more Sagittarius, which Jupiter rules, because Sagittarius is a very spiritual sign. So that Jupiter actually kind of represents the kind of the king of the gods. Well, Jupiter was in fact Zeus in Greek mythology. So he was king of the gods and ruler of the heavens. Interestingly, Jupiter is the son of Cronus and Rhea. Well, Kronos, who of course is the god of time, is none other than Saturn. So we have a strong link of father-son energy here, and Jupiter perhaps not always liking the restrictive energies with various transits that Saturn may impose upon Jupiter. Now we're going to keep that in one part of our thinking as well. It's interesting because here I am giving you little bits of information, little snippets for us to put together in a kind of package towards the end of this overview. And I'm almost doing what Gemini does. It thinks it overthinks it kind of gets into the kind of, as I say, the depth of thought about it, wants to get the intricacies right of its thinking, of the ideas of the mind of Jupiter, the mind of the god of Zeus. And instinctively, I'm not going into my intuition. So what I'm going to do is flip that and now talk to you intuitively about my feelings of Jupiter in Gemini in 2024. So, first of all, I do think it helps to look at the mythology behind the god Zeus, because Zeus had many romantic episodes and affairs with goddesses and mortal women. And he played a central role in many of the myths, especially some of the wars between the Titans and the Olympian gods. So Jupiter was a very powerful god. And as I say, he was the son of Saturn. And Saturn, as you know, is the planet with the wonderful rings round it. And Saturn will run rings round Jupiter, trying to contain Jupiter's exuberance. And I think that's what Saturn is going to try to do as it moves through Gemini, especially when it squares Saturn in Pisces at 17 degrees on August the 19th. So I've kind of leapt ahead a little bit with our months, but don't worry, I'm coming back to where we are now. So it squares Saturn. So be mindful that in August, there may be some ideas you have, visions you have, projects you want to launch, things you want to communicate. You want to get your blog out there. You want to get your website up and running. You want to make an impact on social media. And somehow Saturn is coming in and going, wait, feel whether this is intuitively the right time for you to be doing this. I think it's incredibly important for us to, first of all, with all of these kind of energies, tune into ourselves, tune into the energy of our intuition, of our kind of vibration, of our frequency. You know I'll explain what happened to me. All week I've been thinking about doing this video, and I had kind of planned it for today. And I was very resistant to getting back in my chair because it felt like I was then letting go of being in this kind of state of convalescence. And of course, that's not true. I'm just taking baby steps back into my passion. But I read something I think it was on Facebook, that had been channeled by Bashar, who is probably a channel you've heard of, who is channeled by a lovely man called Daryl Anker. And what Bashar was saying is that don't rush to achieve or do the, say, project that you feel that you need to do. So get out of the mind. Wait until your whole being, your soul, its vibration is at the right place, is in the same place as the vibration of that which you want to do. Excuse me. And I think this information from Bashar via Daryl Anker, and I do recommend his various teachings that are on several different channels. It's very difficult to point you in the right direction, but if you just put Bashar or Daryl Anker in the search engine on YouTube, something will come up. But the teachings of Bashar are extremely interesting. And there's something, when I was listening to or reading this, I was thinking, well, actually that makes sense, because when I was thinking about doing the video earlier this week, I wasn't ready. My vibration hadn't caught up with where it needs to be. I wasn't even ready last night until I acknowledged a few things about myself that I'd needed to kind of think through with regard to my recovery and my convalescent state. And once I'd kind of discussed that with a trusted friend and worked it through, it kind of set me free, so that by this morning, my vibration was on the level of, let me get to it. I want to do it. I felt excited. So what I'm saying is, with Jupiter in Gemini, be careful that you don't get caught in the mind thinking you ought to be doing something like writing that book, writing that blog, doing your business page on social media, or whatever it is that you're trying to follow. You have to feel the passion. If you don't feel the passion, no one else will. And it won't come through the media or the medium that you choose to use. So it's really important to wait with Jupiter in Gemini for your vibration to catch up with that which Jupiter is urging you to perhaps be creative about. So keep that in mind over the next year, because I think it is hugely important. So Jupiter, when it moves into Gemini today, will quickly, by the 27th, be conjunct our goddess of the sea, our dwarf planet, Sedna. Now, if you remember, Sedna is the goddess who was thrown overboard in a storm by her father, because they knew they would all drown if they didn't sacrifice at least one soul from the boat. And this is an Inuit myth. So Sedna grabs hold of the side of the boat, and the father's going, no, you can't be in here. And he bashes at her hands and her fingers and her wrists and her arms until they are severed from her body. And she has no choice but to let go and to go into the deep. So I think in these first few days, as we get used to the kind of feel of Jupiter in Gemini, because Jupiter in Taurus is quite a fixed place for it. It can't really express itself in the way that it would like. It can help financially, especially if you have personal planets in Taurus, you know, Venus, Mercury, or your sun or your moon. But it can also contract things as much as it expands things, because Jupiter, like all the big outer planets, has a shadow. All planets, including the inner ones, have a shadow. So Jupiter's shadow needs to be thought of. And the myth of Sedna going down to the depths of the ocean and having to be forced to let go of her father, which is incredibly symbolic in terms of letting go of authority, of allowing oneself to go into the depths of one's intuition. And all her severed limbs became sea creatures. And so this kind of sense of Sedna letting go, and Jupiter conjunct Sedna in Gemini. Sedna will be in Gemini for the rest of all our lives. It's been flirting and crossing over and back and forwards between Taurus and Gemini for quite a while now, and now it is firmly established in Gemini. And remember, Gemini is an air sign and flexible. And so Sedna in some ways in Gemini can encourage the Gemini energy and Gemini natives, people with their sun in Gemini, to go deep, to dive deep into their emotional, intuitive self, to find that vibration that Bashar talks about, to find that vibration and allow oneself to wait, to be patient, as Saturn is asking us to do when it squares Jupiter in Gemini on the 19th of August. It's saying, wait, feel the passion. Then you can get the gift of Jupiter in Gemini. Because the problem is, with Jupiter in an air sign, we can tend to sort of sit back on our laurels. We'll have all these big ideas. I'm going to write that book, write that blog, start that YouTube channel, or whatever it is that you might be passionate about. Join a group, join a theatre group, all sorts of things can be mixed up with this kind of energy. But we're so kind of basking in the exuberance of the feelings of the luck and opportunity and expansiveness of Jupiter that we can tend to sit back and forget to do it and just not kind of connect with it, not allow our vibration to connect with the vibration of the passion of what we want to do. So think about it, vibration in you connecting with the vibration of the passion that is yours, that you want to expand. Because Jupiter in Gemini is giving you a wonderful opportunity to expand the way you communicate, to improve the way you communicate, to to be able to do, to be able to do, for instance, public speaking and be really mindful of the words that you choose. And August would be a brilliant time with that Saturn square, because Saturn will be going, let's not let this go on too long. I'm just glancing at my timer and it's telling me I've already been talking for 20 minutes and I've hardly got through the first week. So I wanted to tell you about Jupiter conjuncting Sedna because it sets the tone. And I think the whole point of me telling you about Jupiter conjunct Sedna was to come up with this information that I read about Bashar's channeling. So bearing that in mind, let's look at this chart a bit further. Now, interestingly, the 4 quadrants are cardinal. Now, that gives us some hope with this mutable energy that we won't all be caught in sitting back on our laurels and letting a whole year pass without making the best of it, pursuing our passion, making something happen for us. So let me ask you what was happening 12 or 13 years ago. Please let me know in the comments. I'd love to know, because see what part of your life it's in. If you know your chart well, and remember I'm going to do your individual zodiac signs, then, is it about family? Is it about work? Is it about relationships? Is it about health? Is it about finance? So we've got a lot of, we've got 12 houses which Jupiter is going to be affecting in the different zodiac signs. So the fact that this chart has 4 quadrants and the cardinal, no, actually I'm wrong. It's got cardinal on the equator. That's a horizontal line across the middle. And it's actually got Scorpio and Taurus on the midheaven and the IC. Apologies. So actually that's fixed. So maybe this energy in some ways helps fix, direct, channel the energy of Jupiter in Gemini in a positive way for all of us. Because remember, this chart is setting the scene for how the next few months are going to unfold. Now, I want to talk about some of the other aspects before I go on to your individual signs. And just to say, I have written a blog to accompany this. It'll be simultaneously up on my website to coincide with this video being published on YouTube. And hopefully you'll be seeing this round about the 27th, 28th. That's my hope. And I tell you a little bit about the astronomy, because I think that's quite important to understand, because it's a gas giant. It has this, you might have heard about this great red spot, which is a massive storm that's been raging for centuries. So you see, if we just think about that red spot for a moment, isn't that something about the shadow side of Jupiter? Zeus is the god, the rage of a god who is crossed and crossed. And that raging storm shows us that Jupiter somewhere has the ability to blow your fuse. If Jupiter is, say, making an aspect to or conjuncting your natal Mars, you may, depending what sign they are in, have a very short fuse. If Jupiter is making an aspect to Mars when in transit, in a transiting chart, then it can also mean that we can see quite explosive events going on. And, sometimes it can be kind of the breaking out of people, the people that are trying to break free. So I talk a bit about the astronomy, and I also talk, as I say, about the mythology. The astrology is what I'm now telling you, and you know that it represents expansion, growth, abundance, opportunity. It's a planet of luck, of good fortune. But it also governs higher learning, philosophy, travel, let's not forget that, and spirituality. But Jupiter is associated with optimism and a sense of adventure. So it can, in essence, always bring about positive experiences. And it's great for expanding the mind through travel. Sometimes this is travel of the mind, so it's not always travel of the physical. But, I'm thinking about this luxuriating in sitting back, which we may do with Jupiter in Gemini, and not actually do much to help ourselves and let this wonderful energy pass us by. And I remember that when I was, as you know, most of you know, I'm a psychotherapist, and which means I was in psychotherapy for many, many years, and I still actually have a therapist. I just find it incredibly helpful. It's someone who'll listen to me. So, sometimes we just need someone who'll listen to us and listen to me wittering on. But anyway, my therapist of years ago used to say and reminded me, and it reminded me when I was writing this blog, that everything comes at a price. There are no free lunches. Now, as I've written down here, which is just a little snippet from the blog, the lazy, undeveloped side of my psyche back then would gaze forlornly into space, daunted by the implied effort involved in achieving my dreams. So Jupiter can just as easily represent an opportunity taken, but also missed. So as Jupiter transits through Gemini, and I talk about it in the monthlies or the weeklies, pay attention to where it is in your chart and what I might say about any aspects that are attached to it, because this can give us a clue as to what might be hidden from sight from us and how we can actually change that. I was going to use the word transform, which reminds me that it is, of course, going to be trining Pluto, our planet of transformation, of transition, of birth, of death, retrograde in Aquarius. And Pluto, as you can see in the chart, is back at 1 degree. So by May the 30th, for a few days, Jupiter and Pluto will be in a lovely, wonderful trine. Now this, I think, is going to give us a few days at the beginning of June of, personally, I think it's going to give us a chance to have some peace and quiet and relax a bit. And there may be a kind of, in the kind of world stage, we may see a relaxing or a letting go of some of the very tense situations that have existed over the last few weeks and months. It's reminding me of something Pam Gregory said, and I am going to quote her, and I'm sure you don't watch me, Pam, but if you do, thank you, and I hope you're okay with me quoting you. But Pam was talking about, she feels that we've already shifted a timeline. And when she said that, I thought, yes, yes, yes. This is how it feels for me. Because if enough people have the positive intention of saying, we can get through all of this. We got through COVID. We got through the pandemic. We got through potential financial disaster. We can get through anything that the dark side can throw at us. Because if there's enough of us in the light will be victorious over the dark. And Jupiter in Gemini gives us the ability, and we have to make sure we use it, to think creatively of the ideas and expand on them. Be expansive with our ideas. Be expansive with our meditations. Bring in larger groups of people. Create Facebook groups. Create groups anywhere where you agree to either meet virtually or literally to meditate on peace, to meditate on common sense, to be dished out from Penny Dish to the world leaders. And also to trust that we're all in the right place at the right time, and that what is unfolding on the world stage is exactly as it's meant to be. To trust that, to have faith that the divine knows what she's doing. Sometimes we forget that. We get so caught in our own minds that we forget that actually the divine has all of our backs. And certain people will just drop away in your own lives. People who are around you who have any element of toxicity and negativity and just see all the darkness, they'll drop away. If you stay true to your vibration of light, of being in the light, of being in the light air, of the mutability of Gemini, and the light of Sagittarius, which is such a highly spiritual sign, which is the opposite sign to Gemini, but Jupiter rules Sagittarius, so it pulls in the energy of its sign that it rules. And remember, Jupiter also rules Pisces. And Saturn is in Pisces. So Saturn in Pisces, when it squares Jupiter in Gemini, is talking about flexibility. And think outside the box. Be a little bit creative with how you go about manifesting your passion. There's a lot of quite conscious and unconscious shifting that has to take place within the community towards understanding the difference between being caught in the mind and the primitive brain, where we just repeat patterns and habits, where we think lazily, where we're caught in behaviors and habits. And there's a big difference between actually thinking mindfully and thinking intuitively and being very much in the present and being in the now. As Eckhart Tolle says, he's really right. The power of the now is extraordinary. It's almost like you don't have to read that book. Apologies to Eckhart Tolle. Of course you have to read the book. But, the title says it all. So the next kind of major movement of Jupiter, because there will be aspects to Jupiter which I will talk about as we go through the monthlies and the weeklies. October the 9th, Jupiter will go retrograde at 21 degrees. And that'll be until February the 4th, 2025, when it will turn direct, at 11 degrees. And then it will finally enter Cancer on June the 9th, 2025. Now, also at the moment, I just want to talk a little bit about the energy represented by the chart before I get Jerry to remove it, which is that we've got Jupiter, Sedna, Venus, which is just moved out of her home sign of Taurus. So she's now in an air sign, which can make her a little bit flighty, a little bit flirty, a little bit, you're not quite sure which way she's going to go. So there's a little bit, I think, of Venusian unpredictability and mischievousness, if that's a word. Being mischievous, that's it, that sounds better. And Venus, remember, is about self-value. It's about love and relationship, and it's about attraction. Use the energy of Venus in Gemini whilst she is here, with all this wonderful stellium of energy, Jupiter, Sedna, Venus, the Sun. Venus is conjunct, really we've got Jupiter, Sedna, Venus and the Sun all conjunct, because the Sun is only at the moment at 5 degrees. So they are in effect conjunct. In fact, Uranus is not far away in Taurus from being in an out of sign conjunction. So I think in the short term with Jupiter in Gemini, we can expect some interesting information coming through. And there will be, I think we have to be careful that we are not seduced by ideas and possibilities or projections that may not actually serve us or the community well. And I'm thinking about the various places that are going to be having elections, like the UK, which is having its election on July the 4th. And also, of course, there is still the build-up in America for the elections that are going to be held in November. My herbal tea. It's a revival one. I'm not tired, but I just thought revival sounds good. I think I should have revival. But you know what I've forgotten to do? I wanted to talk again about 2013 and 2012, because I just wanted to tell you briefly what was happening for me. Because I had an opportunity to really achieve some big dreams. This time round, I know that I need to apply myself and be much more mindful and consistent with what I'm trying to do, because there's a lot of filming goes on in Mortar and Gozo. And there was a film that you may or may not remember being made here back in 2012, which was called By the Sea, with Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. And I was actually fortunate enough to become not just an extra in the film, but what is known as a featured extra, which meant I had scenes that were filmed with some pretty important special people. I am bound by confidentiality to talk about it. All I can say is it was the most exciting and wonderful experience, and I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. But I can remember being, on my ego level, quite inflated. I think because of I was almost starstruck. Here I was meeting some pretty important people. And I was so starstruck, I didn't know how to manage it. And to cut a long story short, I actually sang to the whole film set, because that came up through a conversation and was applauded loudly. I sang Skyfall. And also I was waiting for my divorce to be decree absolute. So I was pretty stressed and highly strung and getting out of a very toxic situation. So I was a little bit all over the place. But if you ever get to see By the Sea, which was, I think, actually quite a good little film, I think it could become one of these film noir further on down the line. And everyone I met was just amazing. Amazing. I met some great, great people doing that experience and having that experience. And it's a great dinner party story. But it was when Jupiter was in Gemini for me. Now, I've got Gemini in the 11th house, which can be about going out there and being with larger groups of people and obviously acting. I was acting. I was an actor. I was actually listed as a featured extra. So my name shows up in the credits and I was called Fancy Lady in Cafe. So it was hugely exciting. And it was just an amazing experience, but I'm not sure that I really appreciated the lucky opportunity I was being given and whether I used it. Maybe I did, and maybe I was just meant to have that experience to show me that, you know, sometimes dreams come true, because actually it was like a dream coming true. How many people can say they've been in a Hollywood movie? Well, I have. And, you know, it was just super exciting. So anyway, that's kind of by the by. And I just wanted to tell you that because it was just so interesting. But think about what was going on for you, because there will be a flavor. Think about whether you had opportunities that you didn't pick up, that you waited too long. Were you over the top with some things? So it depends the area of your chart. So this is probably a really good point to get to the point where we actually go through the individual signs. Now, first of all, I want to say, to finish with the chart, the ascendant is Capricorn for this chart. This means hard work. So to get the gift of Jupiter in Gemini, you're going to have to do some hard work. And I'm talking to myself as well as to all of you, because I know that if I want to achieve some of my newer dreams, like doing my writing and the book and everything, then I've got to do some hard work. And I want to. And my passion is there. I've just got to get my vibration to the right vibration, get them matching, so that I actually start writing. And this is where Jupiter may be holding me back. So I've got to kind of work with that. So I'm telling you this so you know how to, and don't forget about raising your vibration. The moon is also in Capricorn. Now, Capricorn, you know, is stoic, hard work. It goes step by step to the top. It just gets there. It's back to wonderful Jerry's phrase, slow and steady wins the race. So maybe that's what we have to think about with Jupiter in Gemini for the next year, that slow and steady wins the race and reaps rewards. So don't get carried away with the airiness and the imagination and the kind of fantasies. Try and stay a bit grounded with this Gemini energy, especially in the next couple of weeks, until the sun moves into Cancer at the solstice in June. The solstice already. How did that happen? Anyway, Jerry, thank you for putting the chart up, and now it is going to magically disappear. How about that? And now I'm going to do your individual zodiac signs. How cool is that? And I had thought that I might pause and actually just kind of walk around a bit, but I think I'm good to go. I think I'm good to rock and roll. So let's start as always. And here we go with the timestamps. Aries. Well, of course, Aries, it is your third house of communication. So I imagine, Aries, that if you think back to 2012-13, you had quite a lot to say. Can you hear the peacocks? They've got a lot to say. Chanticleer will be piping up in a minute. So Aries, I think you're going to have quite a lot to say. It feels like you'll be going, and another thing, and another thing. And when we get that Saturn square in August, I think you will be laying down some pretty strict boundaries around people that are not taking you seriously enough. So I do think that is some of the energy that is going to be around for you, Aries. But Aries, it's also a good time for you to start doing things like blogs, writing that book. You know, it's so easy to write books now. It's so easy to self-publish. You just have to sit down and start. The way I'm going to do mine is to just basically write a series of blogs and weave them all together. And there will be a theme that will be concurrent, and obviously it'll have an astrology flavor, and it'll have a flavor of the spiritual energies that I channel, and also there'll probably be quite a bit of me in there, because I will use myself as the example to explain the various transits and how they have, how I have dealt with them through my life when they have come up for me. Because I thought that might be quite helpful for you to know when you're having, say, your second Saturn return, how you actually manage that. So Aries, for you, this is an excellent time for communication. But as I was saying earlier, don't sit back on your laurels and think it's just going to kind of, the blog will write itself or the book will write itself. It won't. You have to do something. You have to actually start in whichever mode you want to use. I like writing on my iPad. I just do. That's the way I like to do it. And then I can use my phone to do little notes every now and then. So it's all kind of there, floating around somewhere in the cloud, in the Gemini cloud. iCloud must be Gemini. So anyway, but you know, it's interesting if you've had a baby in the last few days, or know anyone who's had a baby with Jupiter conjunct their sun, woo, are they going to have a lot to say? My God, they're going to be little chatterboxes. So that's something to bear in mind and think about. But Aries, in general, Jupiter should be good for you in the third house, because remember, it's also bringing in the energy of the ninth house and travel. And I think you've been a little bit restricted and not able to go and travel around as much as you would like to. So it's time to get moving. So I think use this Jupiter energy to also spread your wings and just fly away for a bit and do a little bit of, you know, touristy educational things that really energize your mind and your vibration. I think that would be really good for you, Aries. Let's move on to Taurus. Taurus, for you, Jupiter is going to be in your second house, which of course is also your house. So you've got a kind of double layer here, a double whammy. And we know it's the house of finance and economy and materialistic things, of property, of self-worth, of self-value. Jupiter is going to be expanding all these things. It's giving you the opportunity to expand your financial situation and status. But again, don't sit back on your laurels and think that it's all going to happen just because you've got Jupiter in your second house. You have to do something for it, Taurus. You have to actually work for it. So bear that in mind, Taurus, that, if you want to win the lottery, you've got to buy a ticket. And if you do win the lottery, as a Taurus, you may be about the only sign that may know what to do with your money and work and use it wisely. So be mindful of that. But also, Taurus, there's something here about you feeling a lot better about you. You feeling you have more to offer, feeling more attractive to the world, feeling that you are worth something. I think maybe you've gone through a period where it's felt a little bit as if you've been a bit isolated, and you've had Jupiter in your first house, and this may have kind of enlarged feelings of procrastination, including your waistline. I've worked the other way with it. I've worked with Jupiter as a reduction. So I've been expansive on my reducing of my weight. So you see, you can always flip the energy, but you got to know whether it's there and what it's doing. So, it really is about being mindful of these energies and how we can work with them and flip them. Change the energy, make it work for you. It's neutral, as I often say. It's what we do with it. But let's move on to Gemini, because Gemini, of course, your star of the show, and it is in your house for a whole year. How do you feel about this? Because I think on one level, you're going to be, really feeling that you've got an awful lot to say for yourself. You will be, in situations where people aren't going to shut you up. So, and certainly in personal one-to-one relationships, you will have plenty to say. And Jupiter can bring some lucky opportunities for your personal one-to-one relationships. Also, I think, Gemini, with Jupiter in your first house, it is also about you needing to get out there and do a little bit of traveling. I don't know about you, Gemini, but I find I've kind of, almost since COVID, I've kind of become a person who stays at home. It's like you have to sort of really prise me out of the door. And I'm not Gemini, as you know, I'm Taurus, but I'm just saying that there's something about where we've all been, I think, a bit stuck, that we've got so used to being at home. I'm not saying that across the board, because some people will have just been desperate to get out and absolutely run out and run round the world when we were set free, so to speak. So Gemini, Jupiter in the first can be very fortunate and lucky, and it will bring fortunate, lucky opportunities for you. It's up to you whether you take them. It's up to you whether you recognize them. Don't get so caught up in what you're saying that you fail to see what the universe is presenting to you, when the universe is going, hey, hi, here, look, I've got this for you. I've got this wonderful job opportunity. I've got something amazing for you here. And you're going, blah, 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 blah. Chatterbox, 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 telling everybody about all your wonderful ideas. And, the universe goes, well, I did tell you about it, but I'm afraid that's gone now. So be mindful of that, Gemini. Slow down. When Saturn squares Jupiter in your sign in August, slow down. Take the opportunity to slow down and tune out of your mind and into your intuition. try and really make that a conscious choice to tune into your intuition for the whole time that Jupiter is in Gemini as well. Let's move on to Cancer, 12th house. So this is this tricky part of the chart, which is sort of like such a high vibrational house. It's Pisces, but in your chart it's Gemini. But it's got the same elements of the Sagittarian energy because it has the spiritual qualities of the spiritual highs and the spiritual heights and vibrations that we can aspire to. Cancer, I think you really need to do some deep thinking about you. I think it would be a really great time to seek the help of a counsellor, for example, to make sense of some of the perhaps difficulties and problems that you've been navigating over the last few months. You know, if we don't talk about it, and Gemini is about talking, we can't just sort it out on our own. We go round and round in the overthinking kind of cycles of our brain that Gemini can put us through. And I think it's really important to talk to people, to talk to someone. So I get that feeling for you. Think about what was happening for you 12 years ago. And use this energy to really dive out of your mind and your kind of primitive brain into your intuitive, instinctive, psychic part of yourself. Be creative. Be creative with your routine. Be creative with how you climb that hill. It's reminding me of that Kate Bush song, The Running Up That Hill. And there's something about, you know, maybe listen to it and think about that. Think about the lyrics, because that in some way for me explains Jupiter in Gemini in your 12th house for you. Leo, it's your 11th house. So the 11th house, of course, is all about hopes, wishes, dreams, large groups of people. It can be about freedom of speech. It can be rebellious, because remember, by zodiac sign, it's Aquarius, but you've got Gemini here. So I think we're going to see some Leos breaking out a bit and really kind of saying it how it is. But Leo, I want to just ask you to be mindful and be especially aware of Saturn squaring Jupiter in August, that you don't go over the top, that you don't get carried away with your enthusiasm and your passion for something, that you alienate some groups or people. So be mindful of that, because Jupiter, remember, expands. You can use its energy to pull in the intuition, to meet the intellect, so that they meld together for you to work on your creative projects. And I think it's also, Leo, about it's time for you to roar. You really do need to stand on that kind of cliff edge in the jungle and look across the plains. Look at the trees and the various water holes and the the wildebeest galloping through, and the elephants and all sorts of animals, the chimpanzees, the monkeys, leaping from branch to branch. I'm getting very lyrical here. I'm getting very Jupiter in Gemini. So, Leo, don't go over the top like I did just then. So, Leo, it's about being able to also contain what you're doing, but it is time for you to roar. In other words, it's time for you to come out and speak. That's what I'm picking up from this Leo in the 11th house. Let's move on to Virgo. Virgo, for you, it's in the 10th, which of course is all about your career, your passion, your public image, where you make an impression on the world stage. And it's the 10th house, and it's Gemini, and it's Jupiter. You could get a lucky job opportunity, something you've really, really wanted to do and been super passionate about. And the opportunity to do it could occur in the next year. Also, Virgo, the other thing that can come up from this is that maybe there's something you've been working on. Maybe you've been collating information for a book. Well, Jupiter in Gemini in your 10th house is saying, enough, it's time to finish now. It's time to go, ta-da, here it is, and let it go. Especially in August when Saturn squares Jupiter. Saturn's saying, come on, put some binding on it, put the covers on, put the credits in, and let this one go. Also, Virgo, if you do like public speaking, which most of you don't, then it'll be a good time to do public speaking. And actually, I know a Virgo, this is an interesting thought, and you know exactly now who I'm going to be talking about, don't you, Diva? Who is going to be involved in doing a lot of public speaking. And I think this energy is going to be super helpful for you. So it's a little bit of a private personal reading for one of my subscribers. And I know that she is busy squirreling away at some political stuff for herself. So wishing you the best of luck with that, Diva. Anyway, so that's the kind of energy, Virgo, that we can expect. And it may be that you find yourself doing things which you never thought you would do. That also could be an expression of Jupiter in the 10th. Let's now look at Libra, because for you, of course, it is in the 9th house. Oh, Libra, when are you going to actually touch base? Because where are you off to now? Because this is about travel. So for the next year, I think you are going to be doing, potentially, if you have the wherewithal to do it, a lot of travel. And if you can't do travel physically, you will be traveling in the mind. But you are going to be having quite an exciting time. There are also opportunities for you, Libra, to learn something new whilst traveling, to raise your vibration to the vibration of a subject that you're passionate about and become quite expert at it, and find a way to feel a little bit more kind of balanced about it, more excited about it. So Libra, travel of the mind, travel of your higher spiritual self, that needs to be part of this energy. And reading, that's just come into my mind. You're going to be doing a lot of reading, whether that's online, whether it's on tablets, whether it's in books. I prefer a real book personally. But you are going to be doing a lot of reading. Maybe it's because you're doing a lot of traveling, but the traveling will be very educational. That's what I'm picking up. Now let's move on to Scorpio. Scorpio, it's in your 8th house, which of course by zodiac is your house. So we have Gemini in Scorpio. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto and by Mars. And we have Jupiter in your 8th. First of all, Scorpio, you could benefit from legacies. That is something that can come up with this energy in the 8th house. Also, Scorpio, you can benefit from investments, joint finance, anything you're putting your money into, anything you're investing into, any work project you are launching, then this bodes well, having this Jupiter here in the 8th house. I also think Jupiter for you is going to be very transformative. I think it's going to help you elevate your psychic abilities to a level even you are shocked at, so that your accuracy with prediction is just spooky, so that you're kind of going, I just don't know how I knew that, but I knew it. So that's one of the ways that this energy can express itself. Now, if you have got ways and means to make money through your work, then Jupiter here is saying, don't sit back on your laurels. Use this energy to launch whatever it is you want to launch, to get moving, to get going, to do it, to travel with your work. That doesn't necessarily mean traveling across the world, although it may do, but you need to get some mileage out of what you're doing. So Scorpio, it's about knuckling down and really getting on with it. And when Saturn in Pisces squares Jupiter in August, then look at what it's trying to teach you, because I think Saturn in August is really trying to teach you to put some structure around these intuitive psychic abilities that you are experiencing, so that you have more of a handle on how to manage it, because it could be quite overwhelming. Jupiter could get you caught in an overwhelm with this energy. Think back to what was going on for you 2012, 2013. Were similar things going on? Where were you? Were you working? Weren't you working? Were you at home with kids? What were you doing? And that'll give you a clue. So let's look now at Sagittarius, because of course, Sagittarius, it's your 7th house of significant relationships. Well, Jupiter is just going to be bringing opportunity after opportunity if you are single and looking. So that can't be bad. But of course, we have to go out. There's no good Sagittarius sitting on the sofa and hoping it'll turn up and knock on your door. It won't. Not even with the Bolt or Uber driver. It ain't going to happen. Well, it might, but I think it's unlikely. We'd need Uranus around for that. But with Jupiter in your 7th, it means that you have to be careful that you are not being promiscuous. There's a tendency with this planet here for Sagittarians who can be a little bit free with their kind of sexual favors, to actually be too free with too many at the same time. Be careful, Sagittarius. Either you get caught out or you just get yourself in a right little pickle and totally stressed out and exhausted. So be mindful of that, Sagittarius. But there's no reason why Jupiter in this part of your chart can't be absolutely lovely. And if you're in a good, solid, permanent relationship, it's a great time for you to do traveling together, for you to explore things together, for you to explore subjects together, for you to discuss interesting topics that you both love. So, you know, get fired up, get passionate about it, because it will really, really be excellent for you. Now I'm going to move on to Capricorn. Capricorn, 6th house. So this is about your day-to-day routine. It's also about your health. Now it's Jupiter and your Capricorn, and it's the 6th house, and it's Gemini. Jupiter could bring up, enlarge a situation with your health that you maybe have kept putting on the shelf and not addressing. So be mindful of that, and remember, especially in August when Saturn is squaring from Pisces, there could also be something here about how you are coping psychologically, Capricorn. And Capricorn, you might find that psychologically you have been struggling a bit because you've had Pluto flirting with your sign for the last couple of years. First it's in Aquarius, then it's not, then it's back in your sign, then it's not. Pluto has been causing you complete and utter change and transformation. And I think it has exhausted you psychologically. Jupiter in this part of your chart is asking you to get out of your own way, get in touch with that spiritual side of your nature, get in touch with your intuition, stop thinking, stop getting caught in your primitive brain and mind. Stop doing and start being, Capricorn. Jupiter is going to expand health issues, especially psychological ones, if you don't slow down. And Capricorn, you are the sign of slowing down. So operate the way Jerry says, slow and steady wins the race. Pay attention to those intuitive thoughts that come in that you're knocking away, that you're bashing away, that you're not listening to. Pay attention to them, Capricorn, because there is gold in dem hills. So they have value to them, so let them in. Now let's move on to Aquarius. Aquarius, it's in your 5th house. Well, of course, this is the house, as I always say, of fun. I do think, actually, after quite a tough time, and with, of course, Pluto flirting with your sign, and it will fully move into your sign properly at the end of the year. You get some respite soon when it moves back into Capricorn to just kind of catch your breath before it comes back. So it's given you a taste of what to expect. But it's in your 5th house, and I think it can be really good for making more friends, if that may be something you want to do, because you do tend to keep your friends at a distance, or you find it difficult sometimes to allow people into your inner circle. I think Jupiter is going to be asking you to expand your inner circle a bit and to allow people in, and also to tune into that intuitive part of your soul to let people in. I also think that this Aquarian energy with Gemini and Jupiter in Gemini in the 5th is going to enhance your creative abilities. And I think you will be having ideas, creative ideas of what you can do and how to communicate it. Now, it's not always communicating through words. This may be through painting, through art, through dance, through drama. Aquarius, you need to find an outlet for some of your energy, your spiritual energy and your kind of soul energy. I really feel you've got a little bit caught in your primitive brain, which is the bit where we're caught in habits and overthinking and well, I've always done it like this, so I do it like this. I always go left at this junction. I never go right. I'd never do that. Do something different, Aquarius. Make some changes. Take the opportunity of Jupiter in Gemini to raise you up into a higher frequency of your thinking so that you can have the luck, the opportunity, and the expansiveness of thought and intuition that Jupiter in Gemini can really bring you. And now finally, guess who we're coming to now? Yes, it's Pisces, my oceans of emotions. Well, Pisces, hello. How are you? This is in your 4th house of home and family. Well, some of you may be moving. Some of you may be putting an extension on your current place of living. Some of you may be having an expansive family. There may be additions to the family. There may be weddings. There may be births. There may be christenings. But whatever it is, it's expansive. Maybe you're getting married or in a permanent relationship. I always feel a little bit old-fashioned talking about marriage because I don't know if anyone ever does it anymore. I kind of feel a little bit sort of out of date with it because I'm 69 now. And I'm kind of thinking, whoa, 69 times round the sun, that's quite a lot. So Pisces, how are you doing? Because Saturn in your sign is going to make a square to Jupiter in August, and it's going to be asking you to put some boundaries on your thinking, your communication, your intuition, because I think you're getting a lot of expansive ideas, and I think you're overthinking them all. I feel you're overthinking them all, or have the potential to overthink them all and let them get out of control. So you need to exercise some containment and boundaries, because remember, Pisces, you don't have any boundaries anyway. And even though you've got Saturn in your sign and it is putting you through the ringer, it's really giving you quite a hard time. Saturn conjunct the sun or the ascendant or the moon can be tough going. My back surgery was when Saturn was conjunct my moon in Pisces, in my 8th house. So this is what I'm saying, Pisces. This can be quite tough energy. Please slow down. If you've got some great ideas, slow down, be mindful, allow the frequencies to connect, allow the heaven to meet earth, allow the conjunctio, the sacred marriage between heaven and earth. Be the lovers, be the lover with yourself. You are 2 fishes. So somehow you may have been out of touch with loving you and your home and your family. Embrace your family. Family I know we often don't get on with some members of our family, but family are important. Please be kind to each other. Be mindful of your family and embrace them. So, Pisces, be imaginative, as you are with Neptune in your sign, at the anaretic degree, just on the cusp of moving into your 2nd house. That's awesome. So, that's going to be very interesting for you, Pisces, when Neptune moves. But I think what's happening is this energy of it being Neptune being at the end of the zodiac, of Neptune in, I think it's in 2025, 26, it moves into Aries and it conjuncts Saturn. It's like, it's a whole new cycle that begins for the planet, let alone just for you. So Pisces, slow down, be a little bit more ordered and structured about the ideas and the dreams that are coming to you, because I think there's a big flow of kind of psychic energy coming through that is giving you a lot of brilliant ideas. But somehow contain that. If you're able to contain it, then I think you'll find you will be able to channel it into the right areas, into your house of work, the 10th house, the house at the top of the chart, into something public if that's what you want. So just be mindful of that, Pisces. So on that note, that is the last of the videos I'm doing on the outer planets. So this was Jupiter. And I just want to thank you so much, all of you, for being here, for supporting me. You know, I always say that, supporting me through my surgery. I had intended this video to be uploaded in May. It's a month late. It's going to be uploaded in June. But hey, everything comes at the right time. Everything is in the right place at the right time. Everything is in the vibration that meets the vibration it needs to meet. And, you know, I was thinking, well, maybe I'll save this for another video. But yeah, I'm going to save it for another video because I'm going to start doing the monthly videos. I've got one on June the 1st. For the month ahead of June, I will incorporate the week ahead into that because I think doing a video 2 nights running for me, because it's a Saturday, it would be a Saturday and a Sunday, will not be good for my back. So you'll just get the video on the Saturday. And also then the following Sunday, I will be starting the weekly week ahead videos, which I love doing, the lives, as you know. And I just want to say, please remember to like, comment and subscribe. And thank you to all of you who have recently newly subscribed and joined this community we have here, the Soul Fam, as many of you have christened it or named it. Let's call it a naming ceremony rather than a christening, because I know we're all denominations here. So I was just brought up Church of England. It's terribly difficult. You know what? It's terribly difficult to change habits. I'm wittering again. I'm being over expansive as Jupiter does. So I'm going to use some Saturn energy. Thank you if you've watched all this series. If not, please go back and watch the rest of the Outer Planet series. I think you will find it incredibly helpful. They all have the zodiac signs time-stamped. So they are the videos that will help you understand a little bit more about what to expect in 2024 and beyond. Okay, guys, thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.